So Raw last night actually surprised me. We got a really strong promo between Cody and Seth that set up Crown Jewel in a really hype way. Some messy but fun Usos drama, as well as a creation of a brand new faction, which I predicted. And we also got the heel turn we have all been waiting for. So let's go through it all. But before we get into all of that, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, comment. I'm new around here, and doing any or all of those will really help me achieve my dream. Thank you. To start us off, we get this Cody segment where Cody comes out and he announces Crown Jewel. And he's gonna be fighting against the current World Heavyweight Champion, Seth Rollins, for the Champions Championship or whatever. And at first I was kind of like, I'm not really buying this, because I remember last year it was really bad. I really didn't like it. It just didn't seem to make much sense. It didn't seem to amount to anything at the end of the day. So again, I was kind of not certain on how good it would be. And we got this promo, and now I'm hyped. Now I'm really hyped. Because one of the big reasons I thought this was gonna be bad is because in my head it would ruin the whole Cody and Seth Rollins story so far, which we all know Cody and Seth Rollins' history. Cody, when he came back to the WWE, Seth Rollins was his opponent. When Cody finally won the WWE Championship, Seth was his shield. Everything, their careers ever since Cody came back are so intertwined that it's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable how many great stories Seth has. I'm a Seth fanboy, so Seth is amazing. I love him so much. And the thought of them fighting at Crown Jewel for nothing, it kind of like, I thought it would ruin their whole story in my head. But after this Raw, I'm hyped. I don't really care about that ring the winner is gonna get. I just care about the story, because the story here, it could lead to something great. Because after Cody would say that he's gonna fight Seth Rollins would come out and he would say that he doesn't care what the crowd has to say. He would even take a dig at CM Punk. But then he would say probably the most important thing: I care what you think, Cody. What do you think of me? And I was immediately like, okay, this is getting interesting, this is getting spicy. And then Cody would talk about how, yeah, Seth has made some questionable decisions in the past, like aligning himself with Paul Heyman of all people. But then Cody would say that Seth changed his entire life, which is absolutely true, with everything I've said before, with him being his first opponent, his first feud when he came back, Seth helping Cody winning the WWE Championship, being his shield and all that. They were always intertwined, so Cody said the truth. And I kind of expected here to be just face versus heel stuff, because that's what usually happens in non-important matches, but here it's no, not at all. And then Seth would talk about a watch Cody gave him after WrestleMania 40 to thank him for being his shield. And this match, I think, will play a big role through this storyline, because even later on the show we'll see, but we'll get to that. And he talks about Cody always talking great about Seth Rollins, but always saying that Cody is the one deserving to be the #1 guy in the company, which is, again, absolutely true. With one thing with Seth and Cody storylines, usually, especially when they're together, is how they really do blur the line of reality and fiction. Which, again, I think the Seth is currently the best at this inside the company right now, because he's always been doing. He's like, think of his CM Punk feud. You have no clue if they're best friends behind closed doors or if they're like enemies, and Seth is just really good at that. And even right here, I'm like, okay, is Seth actually mad at Cody for saying that? Because we know Seth is like, if it wasn't for Roman, and later on, if it wasn't for Cody, Seth would be the number one guy. So maybe there is that like fire inside of him that's telling him, how is this guy more deserving to be the number one guy? And that's just amazing in my head. But yeah, Seth would tell Cody that to his face, how, why do you not believe in me when you talk about great stuff about me? But you don't believe that I could be the face of the company? No, you have to be the face of the company and all that. Then he would say that Cody thinks of himself as the quarterback, QB1. Well, he can be the quarterback in my team. And that's just such a great line. But then Cody would fire back even better, even better. Cody would ask him, hey Seth, buddy, how many one-on-ones we had did you win? Which, as we all know, Seth Rollins is 0-3 against Cody Rhodes. So Cody won all 3 matches they had during their trilogy, which is, again, one of the best trilogies. And yeah, that's wild. And then we would have this moment where Division wouldn't let Cody pass. And if it was any other opponent, they would attack him. But it feels like Seth has so much respect for Cody that he just told Braun and Paul Heyman, so the 2 Brauns and Paul Heyman, he would tell them to move away. And Cody would just pass through. And that's it. So I feel like, you know what? How Seth is the weak spot of Roman Reigns. I feel like Cody might be the weak spot to Cody Rhodes. Cody could be the weak spot to Seth Rollins. And that's a really, really interesting vibe I'm getting from this, because this is Seth Rollins unlike we've seen him since he's turned heel with Division. So yeah, I'm loving this. I'm loving this so much. It was an actually amazing promo. I'm so hyped for Crown Jewel. I don't even know where to begin. Backstage, we would have the Usos once again, and Jimmy would want a rematch against Airbnb. But Jay already made himself a match against LA Knight that night. And he also blamed Jimmy for WrestlePalooza because Jimmy was helping LA Knight. And now, I think this is such a weird thing. But actually, let me talk about it a little bit later when it might make some more sense. Then we have the New Day with Grayson Waller versus War Raiders with Penta match. And this was a really, really good match. Penta and the War Raiders would win with a Mexican destroyer from the ropes. So an avalanche Mexican destroyer, or was it a Penta driver? I think it was the Mexican destroyer. But yeah, he would hit that and it looked brutal. Grayson Waller would sell it like nothing else. And yeah, Penta and War Raiders win. A good match. I've kind of grown accustomed to Raw matches just being good because I don't know when I've seen a bad one like in recent times. Because look, it's Raw matches. I don't have like amazing expectations, but they always turn out good. So yeah, let's move on. In the little Judgment Day playroom, we would find all the Judgment Day characters, or should I say people? What was that? I'll just leave it in. We would find everyone from Judgment Day hanging around except for Dom, who would come in and he would ask Finn Balor for help against Rusev. And Finn would be like, buddy, didn't you say you don't need help? And then Dom would be like, no. Finn would be like, yeah, you said that. Also, where's your little friend, El Grande Americano? He's in Mexico. Can you help me? No, I'm kind of busy. I'm playing my WWE 2K26 game. And Dom is like, oh, JD, come help me. JD's also like, no. And then Roxanne Perez comes up to him and look, a man is weak for a girl, especially a beautiful girl. So when Roxanne asked him to help Dom, he was like, okay, yeah, sure. I'm gonna fight Rusev. Sure, whatever you say, beautiful. And look, I would do the same. Hands up, I would do the same. So, yeah, we get that match for later on. I'm pretty sure Bayley has a multiple personality disorder, and that's this whole thing. And I mean, that's kind of obvious, but like her multiple personality disorder means that the two characters she's playing can't remember what the other character did. And that was kind of obvious in this segment where Lyra would come up to her and be like, hey, so you were mad last time we were together? And she was like, was I? I don't think I was. Last time we were together, I was helping you out in the ring. Yeah, when I barged into your room, you told me to F off. No, I didn't. It was kind of funny. It was really funny. But yeah, Bayley would want Lyra in her corner against her match with Roxanne because, of course, Raquel is gonna be there, so someone has to help her. Lyra is confused, but Bayley is different, so Lyra accepts. But she plays confusion so well. I love it. Then we will have a Stephanie Vaquer segment, which wouldn't amount to much. It would just be Adam Pearce introducing Stephanie as the new champion. And I love the fact that Stephanie won here because Io has other feuds to do. Whereas Io, if she won, she would have to feud with the champion from SmackDown. And this Asuka feud would be on hold. And it would just kind of get boring at some point, whereas here we got the turn immediately. Spoilers, I guess. But yeah, we would get the turn. And that wouldn't be the case if Io won. Like, that's for sure. They would wait for Asuka to be an actual opponent for Io. And that would be in 4 weeks, and that would just kind of get boring at that point. But this way, it's all great. It's all good. Because Stephanie now has some time to, in the weeks leading up to Crown Jewel, maybe someone starts attacking her or something like that. She has now time to start building up feuds here and there before actually starting real feuds, because now she has a feud against the SmackDown Women's Champion, who's gonna be either Tiffany or Jade or, God forbid, Nia Jax. So yeah, this is a really fun storyline. I think it could be, because Stephanie really needed this, and the Women's Championship needed this. And yeah, I think we're gonna be doing just fine with all this. Now, I don't know who her first opponent might be. I'm actually baffled. Maybe Liv, if she returns. But I don't think her return is probable quite yet. And also when Liv returns, she would probably be feuding against Roxanne. And might be a face. I don't know. We're kind of really lacking in heels right now from the women's division. Maybe Chelsea. God, I hope it's Chelsea. But Chelsea's on SmackDown, right? Yeah, she's on SmackDown. Move Chelsea over to Raw and have her feud with Stephanie Vaquer. That would be so amazing. Also, one more note. Stephanie's English has improved so much. So much. She's been doing amazing. But moving on, we would get a backstage segment between Nikki Bella, Rhea, who are congratulating Steph after all that, with Rhea saying how she's gonna take it away from her. Again, this might be a fun feud, but I don't want to see any more face versus face, honestly, feuds, at least for a little while between the women, because we've been having so many recently. We need some heels. That's it, we need some heels. But then Asuka would come, and she would interrupt her with her usual BS. And look, Asuka kind of right here reminded me of like a really overprotective mom when it comes to you. She's like, you won't be hanging out with my daughter. You're not a good influence. You leave. So yeah, we would get Rhea versus Asuka in our main event, which that main event delivered, let me tell you that. Also, I'm really happy this isn't another Raw where we open with the Vision and close with the Vision. And I mean, the opening with the Vision wasn't really an opening with the Vision. It was more so like Cody versus Seth of an opening. The Vision did come out and all that, and I mean, Seth is the leader of the Vision, but it wasn't like a generic Vision opening where Seth is just like, I am the architect, I am this, I am that, ha 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 ha. And instead, we got a really fun promo. And the end also wasn't Vision. They were actually the match before the main event. So yeah, amazing stuff. Now, when it comes to Bayley, I was wondering if we could see her character shifts in the ring and if we could really feel them. And boy, could we. We really could. At least I could, I guess. Because when she turned heel or turned to the other side, to the other character, after her hearing all the voices, she just became much more intense. You could see like much higher intensity in every single one of her moves, and I really like this character. Then we would also get a spot where Lyra would come up to her, she would hug her, and Bayley would just attack her. She would be like, what are you doing? And then Lyra is just there, which again, Lyra is so damn good at acting confused. I love this so much. And I wonder if this is gonna end up with Bayley actually choosing a character in like a couple of weeks, or if this will be like her permanent character, which I think this is a fun gimmick, but it won't work as a permanent character because it would just get boring at some point. Whereas if she chooses one of these characters, probably the heel one, that would be really good. Really good. Cody backstage is then talking to Jimmy, who asks him, hey man, Jay isn't listening to me, could you go talk to him? And Cody does, and he talks to Jay and he tells him if he understands, if he's not feeling too great, and tells him that they believe in him. By they, I think he means Cody and Jimmy, and Jay doesn't really seem to care all that much. I'm really wondering what's happening here, and again, I do have a theory. We'll just talk about it after the match against LA Knight, because I'm not really sure about it, but I think it could be really fun. Then we get Rusev versus JD McDonough, and is JD McDonough the modern day Dolph Ziggler? Like, honestly, is he just Nick Nemeth? Because his selling is so good, and I'm not saying he's as good as Dolph. Of course he isn't, but not yet. JD is really young. Let's not forget that. JD is really young, and with him, how smooth he makes his opponent's offense look. Like, usually when Rusev is fighting someone who isn't necessarily all that too physical, it kind of feels weird because you can see that they're afraid to go into all of his moves because Rusev is a physical fighter. Whereas with JD, it's just like smooth as butter. Everything Rusev does looks smooth as butter because JD is just that good at selling it. He's not afraid, and he's really good. And also, like, did you guys see that back body drop? I mean, I think this was in a CVV interview where JD talked about how him and AJ Styles are in a competition to see who could take the best back body drop. And yeah, look, JD takes a hell of a back body drop. I'm not sure if it's better than any of AJ Styles's, but look, especially like the one I'm thinking of is the one against Drew McIntyre, where he took to the heavens and then fell down. I was like, shit. But yeah, a great match. Before Rusev would put JD in the accolade, and Dom would be on the ropes like, do I come in? Actually, no, I'm scared. And he wouldn't come in to help, not even after JD lost. Like, Rusev would still continue, like, even after JD tapped out, Rusev would continue to hold the accolade, and Dom would not enter before Finn would come up. Finn would fend off Rusev, he would help JD, and Finn would be so mad at Dom, and I mean, for a good reason. I'm just hoping they actually break up pretty soon. Hopefully they break up pretty soon, and maybe have a feud going into WrestleMania for the IC belt or whatever. Because yeah, at this point, I'm kind of getting bored of it as well. I want a Finn face turn, which I do think he will get. It just makes much more sense for him to turn face with all the actions these guys are taking, with Dom still being a chicken shit heel, whereas Finn is kind of like acting more of a face right now and in the recent weeks as well. So yeah, this is gonna be really interesting. Backstage, we would have some drama. We would have the Kabuki Warriors and Io, and Asuka would say to Io that she doesn't listen to anyone who loses. Which, immediately after this, and after hearing that the main event is gonna be Rhea versus Asuka, I knew what's coming. I think everybody knew what's coming, but it still like took me... I felt so good after watching the end of it, but again, we'll come to that later. Because right now, we are coming to LA Knight, and he talks about how he doesn't want to hurt Jay, but if he wants the smoke, he's gonna get it. And then we get into the match, which was a good match, nothing too special. But then they would get interrupted by the Vision, and LA Knight would fend off the Vision because he was winning at the time and he didn't want them interrupting him. And Jay would capitalize with the Vision interfering, and even though he had already basically lost, he would still capitalize, marking some kind of a heel thing. And then we would have Jimmy come up and he would tell Jay, man, let's go help him, he's gonna get beat up, I'm gonna get beat up because I'm gonna go up there. Jay just didn't care. And then when Jimmy goes up, the Vision is like, okay, we're done. We're done now. Paul Heyman is like, hey guys, come on down, let's go. And here comes my theory. Jey Uso definitely, I love how it's a theory, I have to speak with confidence to make myself believe it. Jey Uso called up the Vision to help him beat up on LA Knight, to defeat him. That's 100% true. And he probably promised them to align himself with them, possibly at Survivor Series War Games, possibly. And in exchange, he wanted to win against LA Knight. And if Jimmy comes out, don't touch him, just leave. The reason for this theory is because Jay didn't really seem like he cared after they came out. Like, he wasn't surprised or anything. He was just like, oh, here they are, attacked LA Knight, that's it. Second, why would they not go ahead and attack Jimmy and LA Knight as they did all this time before? Doesn't make much sense. And also after the Cody segment where Jay is like, yeah. I think he was just second guessing himself. But he wanted to do what he wanted to do. Or I guess he knew what he had to do to defeat LA Knight. And again, really interesting stuff. This could be leading up to something, that's just my theory. So yeah, I might put that in the title and thumbnail, I don't know. But yeah, that was some wild stuff. Afterwards, we get one of the funniest segments I've seen in a while, which is Seth Rollins backstage, and Becky's behind him, and Seth is just looking at his watch, deep in thought. And Becky's behind him, like pacing around, just yapping about anything and everything, about how she's the greatest, about how Cody called her lovable or whatever it was. And it was just like, she's yapping behind him, and she's yapping so much, and she just leaves because she has some stuff to do, she wants to do something, and Seth's just not even acknowledging her, he's just looking at the watch. And that's it. And that's another big thing that like makes me believe that this match at Crown Jewel is going to be really big, it's going to be really important, and the storyline might not continue right after Crown Jewel, but it will become important again in some time. Because if I had to make a prediction, Seth Rollins will not want the Vision getting involved against Cody Rhodes, especially after Cody Rhodes told him, hey, I don't think at Crown Jewel will be a one-on-one with your Vision buddies, because also one-on-one you always lose. And Seth might be trying to prove something at Crown Jewel. Again, could be an amazing story. I think it will be. I really do think it will be, because with these two guys, they had one of the greatest trilogies in the last, I mean, let's say of this decade. So, is it a decade? No. Yeah, it is. Of the 2020s. Is that a decade? Yeah, that is a decade. What am I talking about? But yeah, they had one of the best feuds, and I really am enjoying where this is going. Really am. Then we would have Io approaching Rhea, begging her to like stop the match, not get into it. But Rhea's like, hey, if you want to stop it, go ask Asuka. She's the one who challenged me. I can't do anything. You should also be really warned about her. You should not be too close to her. And Io was like offended that she leaves. And then we would get the formation of the Los Americanos. We would get the El Grande Americano faction. Yes, I called it out in the previous Raw. I called out them becoming a faction because that's just what made most sense. And here we would finally get it, and it was a great vignette. And there was this one line which said, nature itself is healing as the Los Americanos are coming back to the scene. And like, look, I love it so much. It's just a funny thing. Like, also, nobody in the faction is either a luchador or American. We have Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, who are British, and then we have Ludwig Kaiser, the El Grande Americano, who's German. And they are Los Americanos, like American luchadors. They're neither, but I love this faction so much. They're hilarious. I know some people don't like them. I absolutely love them. Like, if Ludwig, or I guess El Grande Americano, became world champion tomorrow, I would be completely fine with it. I would be so fine with it. Again, I love it so much. Another interesting thing would happen next with Maxine Dupree, where we would see Maxine Dupree asking for a match out of Adam Pearce, and she feels different. She really feels different. And I love this because Maxine Dupree for the longest time has been the same character. She was kind of afraid and everything, and she didn't really want matches. But now she seems like a new person. She seems like someone who actually wants to do this stuff. And I know this was only like a 10-second segment, but look, whatever they're cooking here, I'm happy for it, because any change to Maxine Dupree, I believe it's gonna be a good change. So yeah. However, after she leaves, we would get AJ Styles and Dragon Lee coming up to Pierce, and they would demand a match against Los Americanos, which we are going to get next week. Really excited, really excited. Main event would come with some really good stuff. One really impressive thing that happened that I do have in my mind is Asuka trying to, I think, do a splash, I'm pretty sure it was, from the top rope, and Rhea would just drop kick her out of the air. Really good stuff. And then we would have the final spot, which would be Asuka telling Kairi to go attack Rhea. Kairi wouldn't want to, and she would come up to Rhea and she would start punching her, but Rhea would catch her and be like, what? And then Asuka would try to do the Empress Impact, but Rhea moves out of the way, she hits Kairi, and Rhea rolls up Asuka and she wins. But as the judge is, or I guess the referee, is raising Rhea's hand, Asuka spits mist in her face, she attacks her, she also commands Kairi to attack her. It's brutal, and then Io comes out, she's trying to stop them, and Asuka's like, you know what, you're right, I'm not doing so well, I'm not. And she's in tears and everything, and then they hug, and then they pull apart, and Asuka just hits her, and she starts a beatdown with Kairi being in the beatdown as well, because Asuka is commanding her to be. So Asuka is really built up as this the woman, especially when it comes to Japanese female wrestlers, the woman, which she is. And that's why Kairi, out of so much respect for her, she's doing this. And they would beat up on Io Sky. Kairi would also cry doing it. An amazing turn. I can't wait to see all the matches, everything that will happen. Of course, it will be a tag team between Io Sky and Rhea Ripley versus Asuka and Kairi Sane, and that will happen at Crown Jewel. That's a promise. If that isn't the case, I'll shave my head bald. I probably shouldn't say that. But yeah, that's something that's definitely gonna happen. But yeah, really, this was perfect timing because it didn't get old, and also it was really well executed. But yeah, love it so much. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to check out some of my other videos, I think on this side. And yeah, thank you for watching.